right. Good morning, everybody. This is Algo Cowboy, and it is Monday, September the 9th, 8:34 a.m. EST. Got started just a hair late today. My fault. We got Thinkfree here on with us, and he's been on a couple of times with us. We're helping develop his algorithm, and every so often we just kind of check in, see how the development is going, and see if we can identify some ways to make it better. Thinkfree, how you doing today?
I'm doing really good. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Let me check my messages. Did you send me a link to your...
I sent you a link to the Trading View.
I see it there. Okay.
Yeah. And that's the main thing to focus on. I also sent my Excel sheet in some format.
I see that on the OneDrive.
And then but I had a couple of questions and...
Sure, no problem. Let me save this as a fresh one because I know we had your prior version on here, but
this is a bit different.
Yeah, I'm just going to save it as a fresh one instead of trying to look at the prior version. So now, how far are you into back testing? Have you finished all 200?
I believe I have. This last round was 115, but I did a prior round of like 150. So I've been doing lots of back testing, and I feel like I'm ready to forward test, but still, a bit hesitant to dive in. So I've been doing tons of back testing.
So why this kind of like a separation? Why the demarcation between this 150 and then the prior?
I think it's probably one was done on the USD JPY.
Okay.
That's part of it. And then this one's on the Euro USD. And maybe, I can't recall, but I might have done a slightly different, this was a slightly different algo, and I've only gotten up to 120 or so. So I might finish this round. I ran into a series of losses recently, but I still overall, even though, this was testing on 115, and even though I was still profitable, though, even though I had this long string of losses. But that's one thing I'd like you to look at, like go back to April 15th, 2024, to see this long string of losses. And just
how long? How long of a string?
Well, it was like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then it goes on and off. But it was about 7 in a row, and then one win, 2 losses, 1 win, 2 losses, which is sort of breaking even on my algo. But I'd like you to see. So that was one question I had, was to check up on those losses and just to actually go back in time and take a look at my trades. And another question I had was to see if I was going to learn how to set profit using a fib. Maybe you could show me a couple of examples on my back tested charts.
Sure. We need to go back to basics right now. So now, setting profit using a Fibonacci, it's in the online university.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that.
No, I'm aware of that.
Okay. Now, with back to basics, though, when you're talking about back testing, and again, we go over this in the online university very clearly. When you do a back test, right, you have to back test 200 times for every time frame, for every like pair or asset or whatever it is. So if you've done, 150 on the euro and then you flip over to USD JPY, you need 200 on USD JPY. And you need to go back to the euro and you need to finish 200 on the euro. And if you do the euro on the 15-minute and then you test the euro on the hourly, you need to do 200 euro on the 15-minute and 200 euro on the hourly. And then you need to do 200 USD JPY on the 15-minute.
Yep.
So it's every single, every pair, asset pair, or other instrument, or asset, anything like that, any currency pair or asset or instrument. Each one of those and each time frame within one of those has to have a full 200. So this is the data science. And also, let me ask you, in the current incarnation, how are you setting your stop loss and how are you setting your take profit?
Okay, so the stop loss is set. Let me just
In
take a
there?
look here. The stop loss is set with the average true range trailing stop strategy by
Yeah,
Silvan,
I see it there.
and I'm using that basically at the default settings,
Okay.
and the profit I'm setting, I'm always setting the profit at 2 to 1.
2 to
Just
1. Okay.
yeah, that's continuous. And if I do that, it was more profitable. I mean, I know I haven't finished all the 200, but it was more profitable on the JPY. But and it's less profitable on the USD or Euro USD, and so yeah, that's basically what I've been doing.
Yeah, quick PSA, Joe Dinko, Rogue Discord is having issues, and a lot of people don't understand. They all think that they've been kicked out, but no, there is a problem with the Rogue Discord, and it's with Discord. So I've tried to get the back end people to deal with it, and they're dealing with it at whatever pace they're doing it. But you were not kicked out. It's just there's a problem with Discord itself, and it seems that other Discord channels are normal. And my experience with Rogue Discord is normal. I'm not seeing any kind of problem, but I understand, people are getting kicked out. So just be patient with that. Sorry to interrupt Think Free, but we just can have a lot of people asking that question.
No kidding.
So you have a systematic stop loss and take profits. That's good. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't just put it below structure. Like you actually have a system. So I mean, look, streaks happen. The streaks you're talking about are common.
Yeah.
They're just part of the deal.
Yeah.
So you're either profitable or not.
Yep.
And so when you have a streak of losing 7, it happens.
Yeah.
That happens with the best algos. And having a couple where you lose 1 to gain 2, that's going to happen. And it usually has to do with market conditions. You're doing yours is going to be a trend trading scenario because I can see you have triple EMAs. Are you all down to one screen now? Or are you not using multiple time frame analysis?
I'm using multiple time. I'm switching. Instead of having 3 frames, I'm just switching back and forth. I'm doing 4 hour, 1 hour, and 15 minute.
Now, how are you back testing? Because that's got to be a pain in the royal ass.
Well, it doesn't seem to be. I mean, I put the replay mode on, and then I'll look at the chart. I'll click 4 hour and look at that and study it, and then study the 1 hour, and then go back to the 15 minute. And because I'm checking on the 4 hour, if I'm in an uptrend or
no Google account. Discord did not get nuked. I just explained it. Discord's just being fixed, not nuked. Yeah. Sorry, people. Stop talking about Discord. We're in the middle of something else. Thank you. Go ahead. Think Free.
Yep. So no, it's just on the 1 frame, and then I just hit the 4 hour and study that, and hit the 1 hour, study that, and then go to the 15 minute and see if it's good for a trade.
Yeah, I don't recommend that.
Okay.
Nope. They have engineered this multiple time frame back testing to be really, really good now. When you and I started doing this like a year ago, I mean, since you and I have had these sessions, they've made it infinitely better.
Okay.
So I really don't recommend doing it the way you're doing it, because you're not going to get the data with the same accuracy and the same granularity. I would recommend having 3 time frames like we've talked about. And I had to actually redo the online university. I redid these particular videos. I had to redo last week because they've updated.
I'll go through them again.
Yeah, I've actually redone the whole university. I redid a percentage of the videos entirely, and then other videos I just kind of edited and shortened and made them better.
Okay.
But I know it's not, you're in the middle of a back test and you seem to be pretty proficient at it from just this conversation. I don't know that, look, there are some basics that we just discussed that you seem maybe to have, need a little refresher on. It never hurts to go back to basics, but it might be not the worst time for you to do it. At least the algorithmic structure course might be a solid one. Just that That's the intro course is like, I don't know, 25 videos or something. It's so long. The algorithmic structure course is something. It's still a pretty big course. It's like 10 videos, but I've shortened them up. I've kind of made the videos a bit more pertinent and less rambly. So,
Okay.
and much more up to date with regards to the TradingView backtesting
Yep.
system.
Yep. So
But
yeah.
see, well, let me show you an example. So, like on the let's talk about your actual algo here. You got 4, 1, and 15, and so is your how are you? What are your conditions? Let's start from the
So,
beginning.
okay. So I've got a 10 and 20 the MA ribbon, the
Okay.
10 and 20, and then I've got the ADX at default, except it's a 30-minute time
You have
frame.
a 10 to 12. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so you're talking about the 15-minute page here.
Yeah, the 15-minute. Yep, on the 15
Okay,
minutes, my trading time frame.
I see it.
And then, yeah, if you could even just go back to say November of 23, that'd be good to bring
Well,
that up.
let's before we even get there, let's
Yep.
discuss how your
Okay.
algo works.
So I've got the
Um,
10. I got the EMA ribbons at 10 and 20.
okay.
And then I've got the ADX set at default, except for the time frame is 30 minutes.
I see. Yeah, you boosted it. That's good.
And so I'm trying to integrate the MA ribbons or the EMA ribbons with the ADX. And I'm looking because I'm finding I'm having a lot of struggle when I go into ranging, and I'm not aware of it. And then I figured that if the ADX is steadily below 20, maybe that's an evidence that we're more in a range. And I've been trying to look for the ADX to be sloped up, even if it's just slightly, or that the slope up is a
Yeah,
good
that's wise.
indicator. But then I was also noting if I include the DI plus and minus, sometimes where they cross, it's a little bit of an earlier entry, but not always. That's the problem.
Yeah, you need to. So you don't want to overcomplicate matters, right?
Yeah.
I probably would. If you're having trouble, right, and you're
Mhm.
introducing something, you want to
Mhm.
only introduce one thing at a time.
Okay.
You're introducing the ADX, DI,
I think
and the DI. So I
I'll
would
take
take the DI out,
I'll
and I
take
would just, not because now you're gonna the ADI the DI cross ADX is not as predictable as we would like.
okay.
So I
Yeah.
probably would eliminate that.
I will.
What you might do is, yeah, just look for what you just said, and I've noticed it in my trading as well.
Mhm.
I don't use ADX right now, but there are times when I have, and when the ADX is sloping down. So we'll for the audience, the ADX is this right here,
Mhm.
and this is a measure of volatility. And yeah, you're using EMAs as your primary
Yeah.
kind of inputs. So
Yeah.
when the ADX is falling, that means volatility is on the downslope, right? And
Mhm.
when it's rising, it's obviously volatility is going up. And volatility, for people who are super new, volatility is when price is moving a lot. So you'll notice
Mhm.
here where, and this is just for the audience here. Think for I
Mhm.
know you know this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have this move up in ADX on the bottom, right? So I'm going to explode the bottom here. And you see how ADX is kind of going from down, and you see this strong move up. Well, you'll
Mhm.
notice on the chart during this same period um, that you see this strong move down right here.
Mhm.
Okay. So you'll notice that is the case here. And then as ADX starts to slope downwards, right? So let's look at that. And I've actually had some algos where the slope of the ADX is as important as its numerical
Mhm.
value. But you see here as that goes down, you get a lack of volatility. You get ranging
Mhm.
price action where the ADX is sloping down. Even though the ADX is above this 20 mark, which is the
Right.
kind of the standard way of looking at ADX, right? So the way ADX is looked at normally is if the ADX is above 20, then the chart is volatile.
Mhm.
But in my experience, it's really only going to be volatile once it crosses above 20. You get these false signals like right here, but
Mhm.
you don't get them all the time.
Mhm.
Well, when ADX crosses above 20, this is your volatility time,
Mhm.
right? And just as Think Free here is figured out on your own,
Yeah. Yeah.
this time right here, as it slopes down, you're going to have a period of where things can be a little bit, rangy. And because your algorithm is based on EMAs and you have a trend trading algo,
Yep.
that's where you're going to run into trouble, right? Where
Yep.
you lose the volatility and there's no more trend. So if you
Yep.
have a trend trading algo, you need to have the trend be at play. Let me go ahead and open up the. I need to open up, what do you call it? The private live lab here. But these episodes that I do with you, I keep them all public.
Yeah.
Unless you don't want, I can always shut it down and go to.
No, whatever. As long as I get the feedback. So that's the other problem I have is with the ranging. It's still a problem.
Yeah, you want to get away from that. And the simple way to do it, and here's the thing about these kinds of things, right? By the time you figure out that things are ranging, it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
So you're always going to have where, I mean, you might try a couple of things here.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, when you're trading on the 15-minute and you've only boosted, let me turn the volume down here. When you're trading on the 15-minute and you've boosted your ADX time frame to 30-minute, you might want to look at boosting it more.
Okay.
Because what'll happen is in periods of like, and it depends, but when you have these moves up on a 30-minute, it might be the right number for you. I'm not saying it's wrong. It might be perfect, but the amount of trading opportunities are going to be different. Like, what if I just change this up? First of all, I'm going to take the DI out.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that's really helping you. And we can add it later, but let's add one thing at a time, right?
Yep.
And we change the input from the 30-minute to just say the hourly. You could just put the ADX on the hourly chart.
Okay.
Where's the 60-minute? There it is, 1 hour. So you'll notice now that you have these kind of much smoother and longer periods of where you can identify some trades.
Okay. Yeah.
So you'll have this, this is a tradable time. This is a tradable time, right? That might help you a bit to change that a little bit, because what you're doing here is when you have such a quick, like here, this is a really good example, right? So you have this more smooth move up. Yes, it does kind of slope off a bit, but then it crooks back up. So when you have this long of a period to search for trades on the 15-minute chart, you're going to be able to identify more than just one trade. You might get 2 or 3. So I would consider, and you're going to have to test this, right? But just based on what I'm seeing here, this looks like 3 trades to me. Let me change the color of this so it doesn't appear to be, menacingly red. So in this period right here, it looks like, I'm assuming your algo is going to have, based on, what do you call it? EMA crosses. So 20 crossing the 10 or 10 crossing the 20 upward. So you got, in this case, tricky, you would have this, this beginning trade right here, obviously, and you might be getting into it right about here. So you have one trade here. And I'm not, your stop loss is based on ATR. So, it's going to be tricky because your ATR is above here. So I don't know. You might have to figure out.
Well, that's.
Would you enter with this
no,
ATR?
No, in the algo, I just, if it's red and I'm doing a long, I just wait till it shifts to long.
Now, if, like, for example, in this case, it's long, but you don't get an ATR cross or an EMA cross, do you enter that or do you not touch that until it crosses?
No, I would. Well, they're kind of touching, the white and the orange lines.
I wouldn't say that here. Not when you zoom in. No, it looks like they are, but you see, they never touch.
Oh yeah. No,
now they might touch mid candle, but by the time these candles are closing, they're not touching. Are you trading mid candle or are you trading candle close?
That I don't know the difference, but I probably would enter a trade at, well, when you see at the left-hand side of this example, when it turns green, the line turns green for
that's right as it crosses, isn't it?
Then I might enter there.
Well, one thing you're gonna have to establish on your algo is whether or not you're gonna enter the trade mid candle or when
Yeah.
the candle closes.
Can you show me the difference between those two?
Sure. So what you'll do is, if I use the replay function, you're going to notice that you're going to see candle movement, right? It's
Yes.
going to kind of show you what the candle did. It's
Yeah.
not just a flash to the new candle. It gives you a little bit of a picture of what happened. So
Okay.
in this case,
See.
you're going to see what happened with this, and you got to be
So
real. Oh,
far,
you got your. I see
yeah,
what
turn
you
that
are
one
you using these patterns?
on. I've been just studying them a bit. I'm not using them.
Okay. So I'm going to take them off here for now because
Yeah.
we're not using them.
Yeah.
So as I hit play, the candle's going to make some movement, and this ATR might make some movement as well.
Okay.
See how it kind of went down
Yeah.
and then up?
I see what you mean.
And you see how let's go back. You'll see it gives you a little bit of a picture of the action of the candle, not just a new candle with the result, right? You get a little bit of what happened in between. And
Okay.
so you'll notice that sometimes
Yeah.
you'll get a cross.
Yep.
Now you never got a cross there. You got a cross right at the end, but you still have ATR as red, so you wouldn't enter.
Yep.
Now that's the end of the candle, right? So at the end of this candle, you now have an enterable condition.
Yeah.
You have your cross, you have your ATR below, and you can enter. And I would assume you would have put you would have to enter. Look, this is the tricky part of it, okay? The only way to really see if this was possible is if I were to go and put on I don't know, the 3-minute or something, and then you could actually dissect this candle.
Oh, okay.
So, and we'd have to rearrange your entire chart to see this.
Yeah.
But essentially, there was a time in the middle of this candle when the cross happened.
Okay.
And because, unless it happened right at the end, which is possible, but the chances are that during this candle, before the candle closed, this cross and this condition occurred.
Okay.
And you could have entered it, and then those conditions might have been undone, and you ended up after the candle closed with still red and no cross.
Right.
You understand? So you need to make a choice as to whether or not you're going to enter mid candle and risk being too early and have those conditions undone, or if you're going to enter throughout the candle. And if you're not using this replay function the right way, then you're going to end up not being able to make that determination.
What I've been doing is say where you're at in the chart right now. When it goes like that, I would then go to look at the 4-hour and the 1 hour, and especially if the 1 hour is still crossed, then I might click another candle or two just to test it to see which way it's going.
Well, see, like in this case,
there's a lot of crosses where it's very short, it doesn't go anywhere, and then it flips again.
Well, this is why we have, we've only talked about your 15-minute. We haven't discussed what you do with your hourly or your 4-hour.
Yeah.
So, and now your 4-hour, are you just looking at like the EMA position?
I'm trying to look at overall trend, the bigger trend, and then also at the EMA position. Yeah.
So when you say the overall trend, how do you define that? Let's look at, I'm going to open up the 4-hour right now, right? So let me go ahead and put a mark right here because that's where we're looking.
Yep.
And then I'm going to go ahead and let's undo that. Let me also go ahead and put the replay back to here so we can simulate this, right?
Yep.
Let's do this. Yes. And then we'll, let's go like this. Let's exit replay real quick. Okay, so now that I have all 3 time frames open, you're going to see why you want to use the three pane, right? So I'm going to select the replay, and I'm going to go to the 15-minute, and it's going to manipulate all 3 time frames at once. We didn't used to have that. Like when you and I have done this in the past, this functionality was not available.
Okay.
This is why you want to use a 3 pane.
Okay.
So now what's going to happen is, as I go candle by candle, you're going to notice that these candles, this 1 hour, you're going to notice it kind of moving. You're going to see some price action happen mid candle. And especially on the 4-hour, the thing's going to wag around quite a while before you actually see the candle close.
Okay.
So in this case, though, when you say the overall trend, now we're in like a real situation.
Yeah.
We're in a simulated situation, if you will. What would
Yeah.
you call this 4-hour quote unquote trend?
Uh,
General trend, because that's the words you used. You're
yeah.
looking at the general trend. What would you
Yeah.
call this?
I would call that generally up, generally a bull trend.
I
Generally,
mean, it looks like a bull trend to me, but how do you define that? What are your rules?
I compress it more so I get more data in the left to right. Yep. And I try and, yeah, that's right. That's what I kind of try and look at. And then there's a number of trends within the trend, right? I guess, but it's going up and down. So yeah, each of these sections there's these mini trends up and mini trends down, trend up, trend down. One goes sideways at the end. And then it's up and down. Do you kind of get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, but I need what I'm kind of looking for is I need a strict list of rules that tell me
Yeah.
this is an uptrend.
Well, I think the uptrend would only begin around July 17th or a little later than that.
And what are the strict list of rules?
Ah, I
There's got
don't.
to be rules.
Yeah. For
If
what
you
I
don't have rules, it's like, it
rule,
kind of looks like an uptrend to me. Like that's
right?
not going to
No,
cut
I
it, right?
don't. I don't have strict rules for what an uptrend is.
Well, that's going to be where you need to start.
Higher highs and lower lows is one of them, but
Well, then that's a good rule. So you can put
okay,
on there higher highs and higher lows, right? So
okay,
we'll say rule number 1.
okay.
And I'm not
Yeah.
here to beat you up. I'm just
Oh no,
kind of letting you
no,
know how.
this is great. I need to learn this stuff.
Let me make this a little bit smaller here. So you got one rule: higher highs and higher lows. Now, when you're looking into trend, right? Higher
Yep.
highs and higher lows are going to mean there are some ways to define this,
Mm-hmm.
and you can look at it from this standpoint, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have this is a higher low. Now you have a higher high. Now you have a
Yep.
higher low, higher high, clear uptrend, right?
Yep.
In fact, going back to really, so you had a downtrend, right? This is kind of going
Yep.
really back to basics here.
Yep.
When you
Good.
have a downtrend, it's lower highs, lower lows, and we're looking on the macro here, right? It's a 4-hour.
Yep. Yep.
So now you have this downtrend, but then you have this kind of where you didn't get a higher low.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a move up where you break the prior lower high right here.
Yep. Shifts into
So let me erase this so we can demonstrate. So you had a downtrend, lower
Yep.
highs, lower lows.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had a higher low.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had this break. You had a violation of the prior high. That's when you're possibly in an uptrend.
Yep.
When you get to this next higher low,
Yep.
now you're in an uptrend.
Yeah. On the 4-hour. Yeah.
That's right. On the 4-hour. So
right.
you remember you got to make sure you're looking at the macro here. Obviously, within this, you can identify some lows and highs, but that's going to be in a lower time frame and not necessarily relevant. So but this is, you want to make sure you're in a higher highs and higher lows, and that you're not like in the middle of, in a downtrend. Like, I know that sounds so obvious, but you want to make sure that you're not in some kind of like, hey, there's a higher low, but you're still in the downtrend. You want to make sure that the downtrend is now violated.
Yeah.
Any downtrend is violated.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So here's another rule for you too.
Okay.
EMAs in order, let's say. Right. So you're going to want to have your EMAs to where your slow is on the bottom and your fast is on the top. And it is in this case.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So, you want to have, you're starting to see some better rules on this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, your SMI seems real jagged. Are you having like special inputs here?
SMI. Oh, that shouldn't be. No, I don't. I have the ADX on the bottom.
Well, here's the problem. No, this is the 4-hour. And your problem is your time frame for this is on the 1-hour, your SMI.
Oh, that shouldn't be there. I meant the ADX to be on all 3 time frames.
Well, let's not talk about ADX yet because we're talking about the SMI.
Yeah, it wasn't part of my algo in this case.
Well, maybe it should be.
Yeah.
Let's take it to the proper time frame.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm not sure that it's helpful in this case.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that it's helpful. Let's erase the SMI and let's add your ADX.
Yeah.
And then let's fix it because this is, you know, you're not, this isn't your style.
I put it all white.
Let's take off your DI.
And the ADX is all white.
Right. Take off your bar color. And we'll take off your trends. I'm using a different ADX than you here, I think.
That's fine.
Yeah, we'll just make this all colored white to make it simple. Yeah. Remember, you're going to have to do this on your own, right? I'll take this and I'll save it and I'll send it to you if you like.
Yeah.
But I'm using not the same exact ADX as you, so you may have to translate. But
okay,
let's do horizontal line at 20. I'll have to manually put this in because that's just how this works. And we'll put our coordinates exactly at 20. All right, so now we're more or less in the ADX that you would use, right?
Yep.
So now also your ADX is chart time frame, right? So you need to decide if you like it on the chart time frame or if you want to actually say
we're talking about the 4 hour now.
We're on the 4 hour now, and you seem to like to, what you're going to have to test is, what if I move this up to the day? See, this makes a little more sense because, now you're in an uptrend. The ADX is going to be, it's a lagging indicator for sure. Like your EMA cross is going to be a far better indication of your uptrend.
Right.
So let's go back to our 4 hour because that one lags a lot. You're going to miss opportunities if you're relying on that.
Oh, yeah.
But here, you're also going to miss opportunities because you're going to be having this scenario where it kind of pops down and then pops up and pops down. So I'm not sure the ADX is terribly useful for you.
Yeah. On the 4 hour.
At all.
Yeah.
ADX is a bit, look, if I were to use the ADX at all, I probably would put it on the daily and use it as a, and if you go back through the classes, if you have the time for that, this would be on the scorecard, which is in the operations course. So in the operations course, the scorecard is where you have an additional kind of way to boost your probability of a win and perhaps just put a hair above what you would normally put into a trade. That's the limitation of what I would do with ADX. I don't think I would use this as a primary input for your trend. I think your trend, your 4 hour trend could be simple. Maybe, what if we put on SMI daily?
Okay.
So let's go to stochastic. So stochastic momentum index. What if we put this on the daily for you?
Okay. On the 4 hour.
Yeah, but the daily on the 4 hour, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're going to miss, I mean, well,
it's not bad.
It's actually not bad because it does identify the uptrend pretty decently.
Yeah.
So you'll be like, obviously you're in a high time frame uptrend, and then you're going to be in an uptrend within the chart as well. This might be good for you.
Yeah. I'll try that out.
Yeah, the daily, have the daily on the 4 hour.
Yeah.
This is going to give you a higher time frame look on the trend. So SMI is good like that. So I'm going to just add this in here.
Yep.
We're experimenting now, right?
Yep.
But this might be able to help you filter out a lot of your bad trades. Let's go back to April and we'll take a look to see if this made a difference.
Okay.
Is in order, I guess we'll say.
Yeah.
I use different terminology, but I don't want to confuse people with my shorthand. So let's move down to the mid time frame. We haven't even talked about the mid time frame and how you're using that.
Yep.
So what are your conditions on the middle time frame?
I think it's basically all I've been using is the EMA bands. If the like with a short, if the EMA bands is the orange on top of the white, then it's a go.
For a short, yeah. So, but in
Yeah,
this case, on the 15-minute, we were talking about going long, right? Because
yeah.
when
Then I
this next
wouldn't.
candle,
Then
if that's the
then I
case, you
would.
would not have gone long.
Yeah, then I wouldn't go long if the 1 hour isn't. In the case of a short, if the 1 hour is orange on top of white, and the 15-minute is the opposite, then I wouldn't enter a trade.
So you're only using the orange and the white on the 1 hour.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's
that's
go
right.
ahead
Because
and
I find on
eliminate.
the 4 hour,
We'll eliminate the third EMA on the 1 hour because you're not using it. So watch this though. Now, because we're using a 3-pane on the replay, this is what I was trying to show you
Mhm,
earlier.
mhm,
As you go through these 15-minute candles, you'll notice that the 1 hour is going to wag, as will the 4 hour, much more slowly.
mhm. Yep.
So because it's in 15-minute increments, so you're going to have like a little insight as to how these candles are moving, right?
Okay.
And in this case, if you were to make a decision based on metrics of the 15-minute, you might be in the middle of a candle on the 3 hour, right?
On the 4 hour.
On the 1 hour, I mean to
On
say.
the 1 hour.
So,
Yeah.
like here, you're in a bullish movement, but you're not
Yep.
seeing a cross. You're just in bullish conditions.
Yep.
And you can see here that technically, I think at some point this candle had crossed into bullish territory. This
Yep.
this here. But not yet. It's about to cross.
But in my
So it hasn't crossed yet. Your
Yep.
your white is not above your orange. So
Yep.
and as I do this, if you look to the right, you'll notice that this 4 hour candle is in fact moving around like this.
Yep. Yep.
See that?
Yep.
So we're still okay. Now you have a cross.
Yep. That's when
Now
I
you're
would enter.
so you would actually enter. So you're not looking for the conditions on the left to
Mhm.
like you only enter as they cross. You will enter if the conditions are what they need to be, and the conditions are what they need to be. It's not like you're looking for the on the 15-minute. You're not looking for let's do this. The conditions are proper here, you'll enter. Is that correct?
Yep.
So you're not looking for the white to cross back below and then cross back above and enter fresh.
No,
You're good if
no,
the conditions are good.
that's true. Yeah.
Okay, so if
But
this is
I'm
the case,
waiting for a cross on the 1 hour,
got you.
essentially.
Okay, that's a great
Okay.
way to go, I think.
Okay.
Now here's the thing: your ADX is sloping downwards on your
Yes.
15-minute.
Yep. And
So
that's okay.
would you enter this?
No, I get no. According to my algo, I wouldn't because
Nope.
it's sloping down.
Yep, that's the trick. So you're going to have to do a little research and find out whether or not the
Mhm.
way that you're doing this is helpful, right? Let me
Mhm.
eliminate the let me fix this. No, we want to okay. It's just the labeling is getting in the way here.
Yeah.
It's because I'm zoomed in for the show.
Yeah.
All right, so here's our stop loss,
Mhm.
and this will be our 2 to 1.
2 to 1. Yeah.
So we can at least see how this goes, despite this not
Mhm.
being a real trade for you. We
Yeah.
can at least test how this might be, because
Yeah.
you might find that this actually starts to kick upwards, and then we
Okay.
have to reevaluate whether or not this is going to be this strict ADX here is going to be a good idea.
Yeah.
Now,
Right.
are you using the SMI on the hourly at all?
No, I haven't been. No.
Okay, so either we're going to use it or not.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take it off. I think you should actually use it.
Okay. Well, then I'd like to do that. Yeah.
So here's what you might look at in this scenario.
And
You
setting.
see that the let's go to the middle time frame.
Yeah.
Your SMI is overbought. So what you could do with this is partially first of all, your SMI doesn't look like it's on the proper time frame. It
Right.
is. Okay, 1 hour 10 through 3. Let's go to defaults. Is it on defaults? Yeah, it's on defaults, it seems.
Okay.
It's just super jagged, but
Mhm.
you're in an overbought scenario going long. So you
Mhm.
could test whether or not you want to go long in an overbought scenario,
Mm.
because
Mhm.
usually, it's not wise. Now,
Right.
this can remain overbought and these can be successful trades, but in my experience, going against an overbought SMI is not always wise.
Mhm.
It's always better to and we've been through this in a lot of the live
Yeah.
classes. Always better to let it drop through here. And then if your conditions line up well, it's not overbought, then then you might be in a better position, right? So
For
you could use the hourly SMI as simply as a filter, where if you're going long, don't buy overbought. And if you're shorting, don't short into oversold. right?
Right.
Because in this case, you see how this, I mean, it looked great for a minute and then bam,
Yeah.
you got, but it might still be a successful trade. We don't know.
Sure.
Let's see what happens. Right here. See, you're still in the win here.
Mm-hmm.
This looks like this trade's going to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you have a winning trade. See,
Good.
so it
Yeah.
may be that the SMI is okay, and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter. You have to test.
Yep.
You got to test for that.
So, but the theory here on the 1 hour with the SMI is, could you just review that? If it's, I didn't do overbought, underbought. I did with the blue line above the orange or orange over the blue.
That may be proper.
Yeah.
That might, the way you were doing it might be the way to do it.
Okay.
But you're gonna have to test that.
Okay.
You know, you're gonna have to test it the way you were doing it with blue above orange.
Yep.
And then you're going to have to like just put a note on the side of your like on the screen where you put all your notes. Say, okay, this is overbought or this is oversold.
Okay.
And then what you'll do is on your Excel spreadsheet, you'll have a separate column for overbought, oversold. Hey, look, Victor, what's up, dude? Victor's here. Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it. So for overbought and oversold, you'll have to just mark that down, and then you can sort on your Excel spreadsheet for those data, and then you can see whether or not they're effective. It might be that it has no effect. It might be that it puts a little bit of a dampener on your trades, but you're still more profitable while trading with those conditions than not. Therefore, you want to continue, but perhaps you can kind of have it maybe be like you're putting in a smaller amount, like an anti-scorecard thing where, oh, maybe instead of a 2%, I put a 1.5. You know, I don't know. These are all things you have to test, right? Okay. And you don't want to get too complex. What I would do with this on the SMI was I would continue to either not use it at all, or I would just do like we're talking about doing with blue above orange. Yeah. And I would simply mark whether or not it's overbought and oversold. Right. And I would assess that data later.
And then look at it later. Yeah.
Yep. I wouldn't, you know, because the worst thing you can do is to start throwing data in, chopping it, you know, like making things more complex, more complicated than they need to be. Right. So, but yeah, the only thing is that you would have stopped out on this trade. If you are, when you set your stop loss, are you raising, let me go back to the 15-minute. Yeah. When you set your stop loss, are you raising the stop loss with this automatic ATR, or are you just keeping it where it originally was?
Keeping it where it originally was, or just slightly over the green line or the red line. I like, you know, just a little extra.
Like slightly over, as in you're giving it like some extra room to play. So in this case, slightly under. Yeah. Yeah. So you would have been like this right here.
Usually not even that much, but yeah, like that.
Yeah. What is your formula for the stop loss and this ATR? What are your exact rules for that?
Just barely past the green line in this case. Like it is.
Okay. So just barely past the green line is not a mathematical statement. So you'd want to make a decision on that.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe you need rules.
Maybe a percentage. I could add a small percentage of the ATR.
Well, yeah, if you're going to do that, I would just go to the ATR multiples. Let's see, an ATR multiple. So I might change this to like 3.6.
Oh, you can do that. Oh, I didn't know you could do that. Fine. Okay.
You see how it shifted down?
Yeah, that's perfect.
So you might want to do like 3.8.
Yep.
But here's the thing about it. Like you're going to have to test to see which of these is best. And so the way you do that is you do a trade. You do two separate of these on here, right? So I'm going to touch it. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to, so all I do is click on it, copy paste, right? I don't know if you know Control C, Control V.
Okay.
Or you could just like, let's do it this way. Well, I don't know which ATR you're using. So you could go onto your indicators and put in your ATR channel. And then you just put a second one on there, right? Just the way you would put an indicator on. So I'm going to shortcut it. I'm going to copy and paste it, right? You notice there's two average true ranges. You see that?
No.
Where on the top left where I've got the indicator titles.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Now you got two.
Okay.
So you take one back down to defaults.
And then
3.5.
And then record both.
You see?
Yeah.
Then you can record both.
Yeah.
You can have, whether or not it stops out here and whether or not it stops
Okay.
out there. But remember, if you're doing 2 to 1 from your stop,
Yeah.
you're going to have to do you're going to have to make a
make sure.
rule. It's either 2 to 1 from the default,
Yeah.
and that's just how it is, or you got to have a second take profit as 2 to 1 from the non-default. Now, the way
Mhm.
I would do it would just be 2 to 1 from the default and keep it there.
Okay.
And then
Oh, yeah,
your
that's
default. So let me restate that. If you're wanting to do it slightly below whatever the default is,
Mhm.
then you need to start with your changed one and make that a 2 to 1, right?
Right. I got it.
Whatever your rule is, you need to
Yeah,
stick with it. And
yeah.
it might be that it's actually better to do it this way, or it
Yeah.
might be that it's better to have your 2 to 1 from the default and you just add the extra space.
Right.
And you need to test to see which is better, right?
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything
So
needs to be tested, because you know what? It might be better if you go 2 to 1 from your manipulated, your
right.
non-default,
Right.
whatever you call it when you change things, your edited one. I can't think of terminology right now. I really did not get very good
Yeah.
sleep last night. But this is, you need to test that. Now, I would stick to 1, right?
Right.
There's 2 ways to do this. You could test every single one twice
Mhm.
and just change the value and then
Mhm.
put down the data. But when you start to get into doing that, your temptation is to do that with a lot of different things. And before you know it, your spreadsheet is 10 columns longer than it ever was.
Yeah, yeah.
So my recommendation on that is to stick to 1
Yeah.
method, test
Yeah.
it all the way through.
Yeah.
And then you're going to notice like that, okay, a certain amount of take profits are going above. Like, maybe I
Mhm.
should do 2 to 1 from the deeper one. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
You're going to have to decide whether or not you want to test that at once or if you want to,
So I think I'll
test it all later.
yeah, I
If
think
you're,
I'll
if you're going to do it, just if you are going to do a double test
yeah.
with your take profits, only do a double test with those. Like only double test one thing.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say. If you
Okay.
really are serious about having this kind of extra padding on there,
Yeah.
but you want to know if that's best,
Yeah.
then you can double test, but don't double test anything else. That's
Okay. Okay.
the best way. That's like my own experience speaking.
I
I
can
don't know
follow
what's
that.
best, but I'm just telling you my way.
Yeah, I don't want to get it too time consuming and complicated, but yeah, I think I'll set it at 2 to 1 with the
The
3.5,
manipulating.
the
Yeah.
3.5, and then I'll test it without changing the profit. Just bring it down to the 3.6.
Yeah. Well,
And
3.6 didn't
record.
seem to make much difference.
Yeah.
3.8 on this
Oh, 3.8. Yeah.
3.6 was just below. It didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that way you can run it all at the same time.
Yeah.
And but again, don't get kind of caught up in like double testing things.
Mhm.
It's very unwise.
So
Only double test one thing, and make sure whatever you're double testing is simple.
yeah. So in this example that you got on the screen, the ADX is headed down, but it's turning bullish on the chart.
Yeah, the trade was taken while ADX was headed down, and you had this dangerous move down that like almost stopped you out. So it may be that this is a fluke.
Yeah.
It might be that you want to wait until it heads up. But then again, if you're waiting until this heads up, you might be missing out on good trades. So
Yeah.
you may want to simply not worry about the ADX.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you might be wanting to.
Oh, this is on the 1 hour though. Oh no, this is the 15-minute.
No, yeah, but the ADX we moved it to 1 hour. So you might want to like make your rule more simple and say, above 20 and not worry about the slope. Or
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like again, these are things that you have to go back and test.
Yeah.
And it might be that you keep your rule simple. You can make a notation on the side, like ADX sloping down, but you can make the rule simple, ADX above 20, and then you can make a notation on the side of ADX sloping down, and then you can sort for that data later. Because look at here, remember also this is your new ATR channel.
Yep.
That's going to change afterwards. So even though this is not a trade you would have entered due to the 1 hour, you're going to have a slightly different data there as well. So remember, every dimension you add is going to add work.
more recording.
Yeah, but if you're like I said, like I said, I would be good to double test one thing.
Mhm.
Everything else, though, you can at least make a notation off to the side and sort for that data to get a general idea later. And that way you
Mhm.
can, not have to do the work, but you can at least sort through the data to see if the trades are better with or without.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
thanks, Cuckoo. Yeah, these kind of shows are like where the meat is. If you really want to know what Algo Factory is about and you want to see me and my skill set, this is the show. Like this is where the rubber meets the road and
mhm.
why people are paying money to be at an Algo Factory because of this skill set that I have.
Mhm.
I don't know anybody who's
Mhm.
as adept at this as I'm sure there's a lot of people more adept than me. I just don't know them.
Yeah.
So I'm tooting my horn a little bit. But obviously there are people who like the guys who build these are like probably way better at this than I am. The guys who actually
Mhm.
write the code, so
Mhm.
but at least I know what I'm doing. And so we got
So,
uh, a
so
few
I'm
minutes
still,
yet left. So I know you got questions, so please go for
well,
it.
I'm still wondering now if on the 15-minute, I should do the half-hour time frame or the 1 hour, because I think the half hour might be
For the
more
ADX.
for the ADX. Yeah. Because I think with the half hour, it might, like on this example here, it might be, no, it doesn't make a difference. Okay. Yeah. Um,
Well, not in this example, but you
no.
need 200 example to know.
Yeah. 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 I get it. Okay. But
And
you
one
think
thing
the
to
1 hour,
understand, see the thing about
you think the 1 hour might be better?
well, so
But
here's the
it's
thing
all
about
just,
trading in general. We've gone through this, and I think
yeah.
I saw you making notation to this effect
Yep.
earlier in the charts. But when you have ranging, like some
Yeah.
of the best traders I've ever seen
It's a bit.
trade the breakouts. So what they would do is they
Mhm.
look for consolidation, which usually
Yeah.
means ADX sloping down. And then they would
Right.
see a consolidate, and then you get a break. Now, this is a news event. You're not
Yeah.
going to catch these. I can tell.
No.
I'm just guessing that's
Yeah.
5:30 in the morning, 30, like that's probably,
Yeah.
something news came out. But here you have ADX sloping down and effectively, not exactly, but you do have a bit of a range developing,
Mhm. Yeah.
more or less, right?
Yeah.
And then you have a range breakout. And the best traders I know trade range breakouts. And
Okay.
you're not going to see range breakouts until you have a range exist. And the ranges tend to exist when your
Mhm.
ATR is slowing down on the time frame. So I
Right.
got to take it to the 15. And then when your ADX, I mean not ATR, but your ADX it kind of dips below
Mhm.
that 20, you're going to see now. In this case, it seems like the 30 was a better indicator
Yeah.
for that, or even the
Yep.
hour.
Yep.
But you see what I'm saying, right? So
Yep.
if you might want to try to incorporate the range breakouts into this,
Mhm.
and it might be that if you can identify a range. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, this was a breakout fake out because it came back into the range and then back
Yeah.
out. But there might be some way to
Mhm.
identify ranges, and you're instead of
Mhm.
letting your ADX be a filter,
Mhm.
it might be just a way to identify range breakouts.
Okay. Okay.
And I wouldn't use it strictly in that sense. Like I would
No.
just be like, okay, it's gone below 20 and we're seeing a range and it's probably going to break out. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and then as it's below that, when you see price pop out, you just know that there might be a range breakout happening. Like
Right.
that's all because the ADX is such a lagging indicator, right?
Yes.
It's not like if you look back here, you see a pretty. This is the 30-minute ADX, so this range is going to be a bit more
Yep.
substantial.
Yep.
You see the breakout right here, right?
Mhm.
And but the ADX is still below the 20. So the
Yes.
ADX isn't going to tell you it's a breakout until after the breakout's happened, which is not necessarily a bad thing because you see
Yeah.
it fake out. But now you're getting into having to test things, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm
and again, we're adding dimensions to what shouldn't. Like you want to do this as a separate test. I wouldn't
yeah.
add this in, but just a
No.
little suggestion. And you were asking about the
About
ADX on
the
that time frame. So
Yep. I'm finding that even if the ADX flips up and it's below 20, that's sometimes a good sign.
yeah, yeah, it's yeah, those are hard to predict, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah, I've noticed that as well, which is the ADX being what it is, like I
Mhm.
kind of stopped using it because
Mhm.
it's just so milk toast.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like it's
Yep.
so to me it's good for a generalized look at things.
Mhm.
I think it is really good for a range breakout trader though. That's why that's the reason I'm talking about this. So it
Yeah,
might be for you to take note and use on a totally separate test.
right, right.
Yeah, I wouldn't do any of that right now.
Okay,
But it seems to me that using it in any iteration on the 15-minute may not be useful.
right. No,
You
I
know,
don't.
it
Okay,
might be just stick with your EMAs. You know, remember, I'm all about
yeah,
simplifying
yeah,
algos.
yeah. So
Um,
I've got the SMI on the 4 hour and the 1 hour, and
and the
we've got
SMI on the 4 hour is actually a daily SMI.
a daily one. Yeah,
Yep, and
and
the SMI on the 1 hour I think is going to stay as a 1 hour. Yep.
yeah, okay. And then, hmm, so I might not end up using the ADX on the
Yeah,
15 minute.
I've this has been my experience with ADX.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless I'm doing consolidation breakouts, I have not found ADX to be terribly useful. The
Okay.
DI, adding DI to it can be, but then you start to get into like some very complex testing, and
Yeah,
you lose a lot of time.
yeah, yeah.
If you want to do that, create this algo, right? And then
Hmm.
go back and test it again with a new dimension. But I
Right.
wouldn't test with ADX and DI. I would just
Yeah,
leave it off. I would test
yeah,
it as is.
yeah. So
And
yeah,
with
on the
with
15.
these new items that we have added, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
it might be that you have first of all, you'll test it a lot more quickly. Now you're gonna have to start over. So what I would
yeah.
do
That's
if I were
fine.
you would be I would go to that one like that 150 that you did on the euro, and then like I think you're 120 in on the JPY. Go back and
Yeah,
finish those
yeah. Okay.
because if they're profitable, they're profitable.
Yeah, they were. Yeah,
Yeah, you might have a streak, but that I'm telling you, I
yeah,
have
yeah.
seen
That'll be
amazing
fine.
algorithms, and they
Yeah,
will have a streak of like they'll miss 7, 6 in a row. Very common. And
yeah.
this is the secret about trading, the big
Mhm.
dirty secret that nobody knows. And I'm the only person who
Yeah,
well, there's one other, my mentor taught me this,
yeah.
but when you back test, you're going to develop the psychological the psychological strength to stay
Mhm.
in once you have a bad
Right,
streak. There are two
right.
traders that actually there's one no nonsense Forex who has
Mhm.
basically said this. Actually, it was when they were doing their shows with Maverick. They
Mhm.
were doing some trading psychology stuff with Maverick prop desk, and also my mentor taught me
Mhm.
that basically if you need to go back and test these because you
Mhm.
need a back test, and then of course you need a forward test with small amounts of money. I recommend small money, not
Yeah,
demo
yeah.
accounts. And then when you've done all of that testing, right, all
Mhm.
that testing gets done, you're going to know, okay, yeah, I'm going to have these streaks. I'm going to go
Mhm.
through losing 7, 8 in a row. I'm going to go through
Yeah.
like a period of time where it stinks or whatever. What was it? And knowing that you're going to go through that, you're going to
Mhm.
continue to stick with it because you know you're profitable. At least you have a very, very high probability of being profitable because
Yeah,
you've been through the testing, you know the numbers, and
yeah,
you're just going through a slump. And it
yeah.
happens all the time. And there
Okay.
are traders who will, they'll literally like when they're going through a slump, they'll
Mhm.
actually increase their trade size just a little bit because they know that they're going to come out of a slump. There are
Uh-huh.
others who will decrease their trade size so that they don't get psychologically affected by the slump. But
Yeah.
oftentimes they'll find out that they start to win and it kind of messes them up. So there's a
Right.
lot of different ways. Yeah. Look, here's the thing. It doesn't matter what you really do with trade size. I
Mhm.
mean, if you could test it and go back through time and test whether or not you should increase or decrease, that's the only way you
Yep.
should know if you should increase or decrease. But long story short, if you're taking the trade the same way every time, that's what matters.
That's
What was that time period? April of when?
when I got, yeah, April 15th onwards.
This year?
Yeah.
April 15th. Okay, so let's see what happened. Tax day might have something to do with people, Um, and well, again, this was your old algo, right? So we don't
Yeah.
know how the new one's going to
Yeah.
perform. This
Yeah.
new one. So I would go with your again. My recommendation to you would be
Mhm.
go back through the EUR and the USD JPY
Yep.
that you've gone kind of 3/4 away
Yeah.
through and whatever. Finish those,
Yeah.
and if they're profitable, start live
Sure.
testing them.
Right.
Because if they're profitable, you
Yeah,
can
they are.
deploy those.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
once deployed, you're not going to have to think about it because you have a trading method. You're going
Right.
to enter the trade and you're going to manage it as your rules say. But you really need to have strict rules.
Yeah.
If those algos, if those two algos, the Euro and the USD JPY, do not have strict rules, then you need to wipe the board and start over.
Okay. I think I'll start over on this one.
Okay.
Because that wasn't quite as strict as the, especially the waiting for the 1 hour to cross. And I'll go through it again, though. I think
every single decision you make has
Yeah.
to have a rule behind it.
Yep. Yep.
And it has to be mathematical.
Yep.
There needs to be a math where you can say like, you know, it needs to be based on maths. So
Yep.
it's like my stop loss is going to be here based on these rules. Like my 4 hour uptrend is identifiable based on these rules. It's got to be very strict rules. So in this case, on April, okay, so you're, let's say April of
I don't see my
April
trade.
15th. Okay, so you end up in a slight uptrend here, right? So what are our rules for uptrend?
Where's my trades? I don't see my trades there.
Oh, I've deleted everything.
Oh, okay, I got.
So because we have new rules. All trades don't matter now. So now you have your new rules on your 4 hour, right? We'll go a little over here. Let's get the subject matter covered, and I don't care about being a little over. So on the 4 hour, you have an uptrend. It seems as if your EMAs are not quite as important. It's more
the blue one. I'm not using
let's delete it then if we're not going to use it. So your rules are higher highs and higher lows, right? And now we have a separate rule if we want, where the SMI blue is above the orange, right?
Yeah.
And so we know as of this line, those rules are satisfied.
Yep.
So you have higher highs, higher lows.
Right.
Let's see. I think it's kind of messy, but it works like that. That's kind of a complex move.
Yeah.
More or less, right?
Yep.
I mean, we could just have this all be one move.
Yeah.
Like this. All right. So you have higher highs, higher lows. We know that's in play. And then we have our SMA. So everything after this yellow line is going to be good for logs, right?
Right.
So let's see if we can identify some trades here for just, a test or two. Say now your 1 hour, your rules are going to be, are we using the SMI? Not really, huh?
No, I think with the 4 hour, we're using it.
Yeah, but not on the 1 hour.
Yeah. And then
so the 1 hour, we're strictly using the two EMAs.
Yeah. And once they cross on the 1 hour, then we want to look at the 15-minute.
So the 4 hour rules occurred here effectively.
Right.
So even though your EMAs are in play already. So here is where you start to look for your crosses. And here is a cross here, right? Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, it is and it's not, right? Did it ever really cross?
Yeah.
I mean, did it? No.
Well, no,
we're going by candle close, this never crossed.
Yeah.
But the conditions are you're not worried about crossing. You're worried about live conditions, right?
Yep.
Okay, so we're good to go here. So my mistake. So for you, this is an entry, right?
We're looking for a cross on the 1 hour.
Well, the 1 hour conditions are already crossed.
Yeah.
So you're looking for a new cross then?
Yeah, I don't know where we're starting now. We're
starting at the yellow line.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. Well, it's crossed. It's already crossed before the.
It's already crossed.
Yeah.
So if it's already crossed here, your conditions are live on the 4 hour. Your conditions are live on the 1 hour.
Yep.
And on the 15-minute, they're live just right here.
Right.
So only problem is that your ADX is not going to allow you to go. So you can go at the ADX here, and you'll lose this first trade.
I thought we're not using the ADX on
the ATR channel.
Oh yeah.
I misspoke. So
we wait till the ATR channel
flips green.
Allows, yeah.
And that you'll lose this trade.
A rule.
So you got this right here.
Yeah.
And it's a 2-1. Maybe you'll win it. I don't know. You'll lose it.
No.
This first trade you lose.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a lost trade. And then we'll extend it past here. All right, so now we have here. Now your conditions are not in play, right? Because your 1 hour white is below. So your conditions are not in play until about here, where you have the cross on the hourly, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So let's move here. Okay, so conditions are in play at this point, though. You have this cross, and it doesn't happen actually until about here.
Yeah.
So we can enter along right at this time.
Yeah.
Next candle. Stop loss is going to be pretty tight here, and you're going to lose this trade.
Yeah. Yeah.
See how it'll dip below?
Yeah.
So you have another lost trade. Not looking good yet. So now we're going to have, let's see here. Okay, so we have conditions yet again right here. Maybe let's see. We have on the 15-minute conditions are good. On the hourly conditions are good. And you'll win this trade probably here.
Yeah.
And for the people in the audience, that's okay. Like, okay, you lose a trade. So what? We're doing 200 of these.
Yep.
Right. So we're not focusing on oh, I lost this one. And remember, it's always going to be the candle after conditions are met.
Right.
Right. Because you don't know if unless you decide to do it mid candle. And if you do decide to do it mid candle, you need to record it that way. The conditions are always going to be stronger when you wait for the candle to close.
Right.
The signal will always be stronger, right? And on the 15-minute, if you ask me, generally you have time to wait for that. But this will be a winning trade.
Yeah.
Very likely.
Yeah.
Let's see. It's going to take a while, but you win this trade.
Yeah.
See, you win that one.
Yeah.
Now, you're going to have another trade of the same kind right here. And you're going to have one not here. Yeah, you won't have another one until about here, maybe.
Right.
No, you won't. This is not a good trade right here because the hourly doesn't match up.
Yep.
So you won't have any more trades until about after this moment.
Yeah.
And then you will have a trade right here.
Yeah.
So you need to decide how many trades you're going to allow yourself to have on the same asset at a time.
At a time, yeah.
There's a word for that. Pyramiding. You're going to have to decide how many times you want to pyramid. I would go max 3 personally, but you're going to have to test.
Yeah.
Because you'll have multiple trades running. Like
I
here, this one here, you'll enter. Let me see this candle. Yeah, so it's going to be, I think, here. I think you have to test that out actually, but pretty sure that's going to be the case. I'm going to zoom in a bit. Okay, so here's your stop loss. You're 2-1. Now I think this will be a winning trade. Pretty easy because it's a tight stop and a hard move up. So you should have a win out on this one. Yeah, you'll win this trade.
Yeah. Cool.
Right.
Okay.
And then you'll have, let's lock these in. Lock. And then we'll go to this here. We'll lock. Okay, so your next trade is here. Yeah, this is a winning. This is you could enter this trade right here. Right here on this candle.
Yep.
And then we have our stop loss effectively here.
Right there, yeah.
It looks like your 80 ATRs are lined up on that one. And then you're going to have 2-1. And we'll extrapolate that. You may lose this trade. Yeah, you're going to lose this trade. But you get the idea, right?
Yeah, totally.
So here you might, I don't know if this could be successful. You have a couple wins, a couple losses, right? I mean, you have to go through and test it. It might be that you need to reevaluate how your 1 hour, is going to be. Like maybe you need another metric on that 1 hour before you start to take these. Because also, here's one thing to know is that this is very choppy price action right here.
That's from April 15th on is when I had the trouble.
Yeah. Well, you know what? This algo is holding its own during what was apparently a very bad time. So if we were to maybe try a different era, we might find that this does a lot better.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
So when did it start to work better again? Like June?
Oh, no, I think it stayed kind of choppy. It got maybe a little better in June, but I think it was more prior. Like if you go back to January, it'd be different, I think.
Okay. Yeah, it might be like a high time frame. ADX might tell you because when you have chop like that, you always want to be looking to see if you're on a ranging scenario high time frame.
Yeah.
Like this right here, you're going to be in trouble when you're using a
Trend.
trend method, and even when you're having like range on a high time frame,
Mhm.
you're going to run into trouble right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So you might have to make sure that identifying a trending time.
Yes.
Like, I mean, not just technically a trend on the macro,
Yeah.
but you're going to have to find a way to make sure you're not in the chop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, and the way to do that would be, I mean, you could do that visibly.
Yeah.
But that's when, you're going to have a rule for that of some kind. But the last thing you want to do is trade the chop when you're using
A trend.
a volatility way to go. And at that point, what you might want to do is develop this one, right? Develop your rules, make sure you understand your conditions, make sure they're based on rules. And then when the conditions are not there, you're going to have to create a new algo that's based on some kind of ranging methodology, right?
Right.
Good. Well, this has been fun. Do you have any questions before we end the show?
No, this sounds good. So yeah, in the range, it's about not maybe trying to avoid trading in the range and wait for trends to develop.
Oh, if you're using EMAs, that's ranging. Like you're basing your entire everything on a range. I mean on a trend. So if you're ranging and you're using a trending methodology, you're going to be in trouble.
So you want to avoid the range.
Oh, absolutely.
Wait for the trend.
Yeah, it's like you're trying. You're using a street bike on the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to work out well. You need a dirt bike.
So in that, with the 1 hour time frame where you drew the rectangle, you would be waiting for it to pop out of the range.
You want to break out, yeah. But here you have fake outs too.
Yeah.
A lot of fake outs. You got to really watch.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, that's just where you look. The first thing I would do, save this. I'll send it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've saved it. I'm going to. I call this Think Free Algo. I'm going to rename it. Let's see here. Rename Think Free Algo. Say show. 99.
Yeah.
2024. Okay, now I'm going to save this. I'm going to enable sharing. So everybody watch what I'm doing. Because look, here's the thing with Algo Factory, what we just did, Think Free now owes me $200 an hour, but you don't really owe me that, because with Algo Factory, you get this kind of one-on-one. The rule is you just got to come live.
Yeah.
And then you get this $200 an hour one-on-one for free. Well, not free. It's part of the deal. Yeah. You're paying for it, which is $50 a month. Nothing's free. So, and then what I'll do is I'll take this and I will enable sharing, toggle that, copy the link, and I'll send you this on direct message.
Good. Thank you.
And that way you have this to work with. But I really recommend, though, again, if those other ones that you traded are profitable.
Yeah.
Finish those.
Yeah.
Finish those and try to identify like when it works and when it doesn't, so that you can identify the conditions under which you want to not trade.
Yeah.
You might increase your profitability quite a lot.
Yeah.
Lovely. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. And I hope all this helps. And it's just a way to look at things.
Well, I'm in it to win, so it's gonna. If I put in enough study time, it'll happen. I'm pretty convinced.
My last bit before we leave is that, and this is so common. This is nothing. I'm not digging on anybody here. The reality is, with backtesting, the common problem I find is that people are not using strict rules.
Right.
That's almost always going to be the problem. So you really want to make sure that whatever you're doing has a rule.
Right.
Yep. If you're going to identify a range, it's got to be because you have 1, 2, 3, 4 touches, right? There's got to be a rule.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, anything else before we hop off?
No, this is excellent. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Cowboy. This is great.
Yeah. And by the way, just a PSA, we don't have a Discord at Algo Factory, right? These guys are asking about the Rogue News Discord.
Yeah.
And Rogue is we're like related to Rogue. The Guerilla is Rogue. And at this point, I'm running it in a little kind of a small way behind the scenes with them. So when they're talking about the Discord channel, it's the rogue Discord channel. Algo Factory is completely functional. There's nothing wrong with it.
Right. Good.
So, all right, everybody.
Okay. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thanks again.
You bet.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.